We're the Ghostbusters Tri State Division.
And we're ready to believe you.
Hello everybody, I'm Bobby Peterson from the Ghostbusters Tri State Division. I'm the group's founder. I'm here today with Josh.
I'm Josh Jones. I'm the co-founder of the Ghostbusters Tri State Division.
Basically what we are, we're a local nonprofit that's been around now for going on 3.5 years. I'm going to walk you through some of our gear because me and Josh do strive to be as close to movie accurate as possible. Josh is going to show you the PKE meter now. This is what we would use to locate ghosts like Dr. Spengler did in the first movie. As you can see, the wings come out and kind of show you where the ghost might be. We have a ghost trap on his side, and that would be after we would bust the ghost with the packs. The trap would open up, and that's what contains the entity to get back to headquarters. The paragoggles, which are a lovely shade of drab green, are for locating spirits who quite not showing themselves yet. So we use them to locate the kind of shapeshifter type spirits. And the most fun part of all of it, we have the packs, which just like in the movie, light up full sounds. There's Josh have his show off, it's louder. We have the full fire. And we'll turn around here and let you guys see the cycle. But that's pretty much all of our gear.
I'm Rose with Behind the Set, and I am currently with the Ghostbusters. So can you guys go ahead and introduce yourself?
I'm Bobby, I'm the founder of the group.
I'm Josh. I'm the co-founder of the group.
I'm Lacey. I'm also a co-founder.
Mitchell.
I'm Jacob.
So how did you guys get started with the Ghostbusters?
Basically, the way we got started is we're part of Ghost Corps, which has roughly 1,000 worldwide groups like us. And Ghost Corps, Sony Pictures, has been nice enough to allow us to do this. Anything we do for sales or appearances all go back to benefit a charity. So they allow us to do that for charity work. And we've been active now since 2016. So.
How did you get connected with that group?
Ghost Corps put out a feeler back right there before the new movie in 2016, and they were looking for fans that had been around, and we've all been kind of in the shadows, so to speak. And they put out a call that anybody who would like to be a licensed franchise needed to fill the forms out and contact Eric out in California, which we did, and we got, within a month, they had us licensed and set out.
So what kind of places have you been to since you've started this in 2016?
We've done everything from movie theater showings to baseball games to local school events to parking lot fundraisers. You name it, we've done it. There hadn't been much I've said no to over 3 years.
Is there anything interesting that you have experienced while being a Ghostbuster?
There's a lot that I probably can't talk about, but one that we can talk about, we get a lot. Do we really bust ghosts? And it used to be, we're immediately like, no, we don't do that. Now me and Josh have made a game out of it. We figure if you're actually looking for Ghostbusters to bust ghosts, we should play the part a little bit. So we kind of make this whole big roundabout thing back and forth in messages, which usually goes on for what, about 2 days? Yeah, give or take, before we let them in on the truth of what we really do. So, shenanigans, lots of shenanigans.
So can you guys tell me about your costumes? Like, how did you make it? Where did it come from?
Well, with a lot of our costumes, what happens is we have to kind of piece out parts here and there, internet, flea markets, hardware stores. So what we do is we try our best to be as screen accurate as we can with myself and Bobby's outfits, as with our proton packs and our gear, because we really want to sell the aesthetic that we look like we just stepped right off the set. And then for any newcomers that come in, including Mitchell, Jacob, and other fans that come along, what we do is we go as close as we can to simulate the authentic look. So we put a lot of effort into buying the shells, and we will build them together with model kits and lots of hours, lots of time, lots of patience, wiring, rewiring, starting over, wire again. So it's a big habit of love. It's not something that you can just decide, hey, I want to be a Ghostbuster tomorrow and get everything. It does take time, and we have a lot of fun with it. We really tried our best to be the best we can. So.
How long did it take you to assemble the costume?
Oh gosh, it started, the first part of it was, for me, I got the Mattel products that were released back in the early 2000s. And put those to the side. I think it was about that time, halfway through or so. And I decided, well, I want to just go full out. So I think when we were all kids, we all had like the janitor's jumpsuit, that little generic stuff that you get like at Spirit Halloween. And we decided we wanted something more authentic, so we go to like secondhand stores and military surplus, and we start buying the boots, we start buying the actual jumpsuits and the patches, and we start piecing everything together. So I would say for myself, gosh, where I am now, it took me almost 10 years to get everything together. It was a process, but I mean, if you decide to do it seriously and have the funds, you could probably do it in a year or two.
I understand you're doing some charity work. What kind of charity work are you doing?
So currently we are doing one main charity, the Shenandoah Women's Center out of Martinsburg. So we have our merchandise on the table and give us a gift, so funds, and we give you the gift off the table, and all that money that we collect goes straight to their toy drive for Christmas. Last year we did about $2,000. We had one specific family, and then we bought toys for everyone in the shelter. This year we're hoping to go hard and do a lot more. So today that's what we're doing mostly, is all the money goes right to them. And they're near and dear to us. It's all kids, families that struggling, and that's what we're here for, to help anybody we can.
How would someone locate you?
Well, we have a Facebook page, word of mouth. I think everybody in West Virginia probably knows who we are by now. We've done so many things that a lot of it's word of mouth. We advertise on Facebook all the time. And then, of course, we tell everybody we know, and then it just spreads from there. So, yeah, social media is a good way to get a hold of us. So.
Hi, I'm Rose for Behind the Set, and I am currently with...
Hi, I'm Rusty Gilligan. How are you?
Good. So can you tell me a little bit about your career?
Well, I started out as a comic book and film artist back in the late 70s. Stan Lee actually gave me my first official job. I drew a pinup of Captain America for a UK magazine. And then after that, my first official film job was I worked on the 1981 heavy metal movie. And that was my biggest accomplishment to date. I've worked since on the original Captain America, Avengers, Spider-Man 2 and 3, and I've done work for The Walking Dead and a lot of horror movies after that. And I've done aftermarket work for movies like Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Doctor Who, Firefly, as well as doing sketch cards and trading cards. And I've just recently completed work on my own comic book, something that I worked on for the past 20 years that actually just came out.
So can you tell us a little bit about your comic book?
The comic book is called The Symbol, and it's basically a patriotic character. It has very strong American flag overtones, and what I mean by that is it's very patriotic, and people will see a two-fisted hero in action rather than a lot of the political stuff that you see today that comic books have been muddled into. This is a very strong action tale, something that's revisited like from the retro days.
Where did you get the idea of the comic book from?
Originally, I was doing work for Marvel. Marvel wanted to revisit their Golden Age period. So I created the character, and it was supposed to go on their roster as part of their new titles to be released. But what happened was the book was never came out. Character basically reverted back to me. And ever since then, it's been published in a few other magazines and books, and I combined them all into this new trade. The character is basically like I said before, a two-fisted hero, very patriotic. It's a soldier who wants to do more than just fight regular characters. Usually you see characters, fighting Nazis or fighting, drug lords or demons. This is a character that's more science fiction than it is Golden Age. So aside from fighting the Nazis and fighting the Germans in World War II, you'll also see him hop time periods and hop realities and appear with other characters. And it's just like my Mac in Trouble comic book, which is based on two real-life cats that I have. They hop realities as well, and they spend a lot of time with the Symbol in his books. Their story is they're comic book characters, and they fall through a wormhole in their litter box and wind up in another reality. And in this reality, they walk and talk. One has a pocket, one teleports, and they're always getting into trouble. And just like the real-life cats, one's grumpy and one's very adventurous but scaredy. And it makes for some interesting family reading.
I own a cat, so I'm very curious about your comic book now. Is there anything else that you would like to share about your comic book?
About the comic book, I try to explain to people that just because it's two cats or it's a superhero like the Symbol, it's not really as hard-biting and it's not really as overly dramatic as one would expect. A lot of books that are coming out these days are very strong. They all have hidden messages. Everything's a political agenda. And the way I have it structured is, this is a superhero. It takes people back to the days when comic books were heroes fighting. There's no agenda, there's no hidden messages, there's no, policing the facts or whatever. This is literally a strong adventure. When it comes to Mac in Trouble, it's not a kiddie comic book. Along the same lines as Indiana Jones or Star Wars or Star Trek, it's adventure, it's pure adventure, and it's strong fun. I get a lot of adults from all over the world sending me messages telling me that they're very interested in the comic book, and I'm very happy to put out something that people like.
Now, are you self-published comic?
Some of my books have been published by other publishers. Wow, this fly really wants to get in the act. Some of my books were published by other publishers. I have my own studio and I self-publish as well, aside from working for other people. This week I'm working on a Walking Dead project, and I'm also working on a horror movie coming out soon. And I'm doing inks for another comic book company called Surprising Comics. So I keep my table loaded with work.
You're often very busy?
Yes.
All right. And we're going to go ahead and look at your work. And
Awesome.
awesome. You can tell us about it if you like.
Piece was actually done for a show in Boston, the Northeast Comic Con and Collectors Show. And I had given the original to Ernie Hudson down here from the movie, and he actually hung it in his booth, which I thought was a very cool thing. He's a genuine guy, and the Northeast show is one of my favorite shows to do. I'll show you another one here. These were undead pictures that were done for a company in the UK. They wanted celebrities to be made into zombies. So there's John Wayne and there's Santa Claus, and here's Elvis and Marilyn, which are my favorites. Obviously the King and Queen right there. And I'll show you another one. This was a book cover that was done for a company in the UK based on Cthulhu. And I did this with my dear friend Terry Pablet, who is a fantasy artist that does work for Dungeons and Dragons. He's done work on Disney's Kim Possible, and he's working now doing some heavy gaming artwork. We enjoyed this one very much, and the company was very successful making it into the cover of one of their books. Let me find a nice one here. This is from the Aliens card set that I had done for Upper Deck. I blew this one up into a print. It was an extra piece of artwork. And this is my character, Mac, from the Mac in Trouble comics. We made it into a quote-unquote Lego figure so that it was available for a toy show that was in New Jersey. I had a lot of fun with that. Then my classic Batmans, which I've done. This one is mine. I did this one with a friend of mine, Jim Taylor, based on the 1930s Batman serial. And some more cards. This is the Man-Thing, and this is the Living Mummy. I had done those for the Marvel Comics set for the Upper Deck trading cards years ago. Had a lot of fun with those. My books are loaded with a bunch of artwork. Here's my Mac in Trouble characters when they were part of the 2014 World Cup Soccer that was in Brazil. And on and on and on. I'm trying to find a really nice one here. This is one of my popular ones. Because I worked on Walking Dead, I did the sketch cover, and I blew it up into a print. And it's actually become probably one of my best sellers for this. So, but I have some really beautiful pieces. I did this one with Jim Taylor and Brandy Dixon, and this was a piece that I did for the Rhode Island Comic Con. They had a number of stars from Sons of Anarchy, so I decided to make a motorcycle themed print based on the show. So. This is another one of my favorites. I did this one in color for the 2015 South Coast show. It's the same company that does the Rhode Island Comic Con. And I gave the original to Gil Gerard, who used to be the star of the Buck Rogers show. And he made a quip. He said, "Wow, this is awesome. My wife will finally see what I look like when I was thin." So I had a ball with that. But my books are usually filled with stuff. I hope that they're exciting and friendly enough for people. I do a lot of Golden Age stuff like the Buster Crab, Flash Gordon, and Clayton Moore, Jay Silverheels, Lone Ranger, and Tonto. And let's close out that book with the original Joe Shuster Superman. This was a piece that he penciled, and it was never inked and colored. And I wound up doing it, and it was for a show that was to benefit a library in New Jersey. I do a lot of charity work, so I very much enjoyed linking up with an older artist, obviously from the grave, this piece. So
can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Kyle Reyes. I'm a local comic book creator and writer from Hagerstown, Maryland. I write a comic book called Primal Instinct, and I also do some comedy. So it's a little bit about me to start off.
Why don't you go ahead and tell us about your book?
Well, the first book I did here is called Primal Instinct. It's about basically a dinosaurs in space kind of deal. It's like a Jurassic Park meets Battlestar Galactica with a little bit of Starship Troopers peppered in there. So basically the premise is there was an alien invasion, and so scientists did the only logical thing they could do, which was to bring back dinosaurs to fight off the aliens. But because the scientists made the dinosaurs bigger and smarter and faster, the dinosaurs killed all the aliens and then kicked us off the planet. So now, 300 years later, we fight to reclaim Earth. And that is the beginning of, that's where Primal Instinct first picks up. So what I've got here today is the first 3 issues. We're working on the next 3 to come out for Volume 2, which should be out at the end of the fall, or this fall at Baltimore Comic-Con at the end of September. So.
Since you don't draw, how did you assemble the book?
Okay, yeah, well, comic books are a collaborative process from the get-go. So as a writer, I simply write the script, I do all the dialogue, the stage directions, I tell the artist what they're going to be drawing. It's like a lot like a movie script or a play script, except this is a little bit more detailed. If you look at a film script, it's like pretty light on details. You kind of leave that up to the director and the actors. But when it comes to comic books, you're a bit more detailed in your panel descriptions. So I write the full script, and then for this particular book, I went online to various artist communities and posted an advertisement that I was looking for an artist. I had this such and such budget, looking for this kind of style. And eventually, it didn't take long. I got like 150 to 200 responses in about 3 days. And I met Jeremy Meggert, who is an artist down in Dallas, Texas. And we started talking online. His style really grabbed me. I was really digging that old sci-fi feel to it. So eventually I hired him, and we started working together on Primal Instinct. We did the first 3.5 issues together. Unfortunately, had to part ways halfway through issue 4, just personal stuff and things like that. Completely amicable. But yeah, so that's how we put it together. And then we have another man, Toben Rossico, who is out in Manitoba, I believe, and he does the lettering. So basically, and he does the production as well. So basically, what he does is he takes all the dialogue and puts it into the book via word balloons, sound effects, things like that. Then he bangs the book together, puts it together. We send it off to the printer. A couple days later, the printer sends it off to me, and then I take it to cons, and we go from there. So yeah, it's an intensive process, I would say. Just putting that first issue together in 2016 took about 6 months, just all together with all the work and everything. So
that is amazing. So can you tell me some of your comedy? And can you give us a joke as well?
I'm a little bit more raunchy than maybe I should be doing on here. I have a lot of jokes about working in a restaurant. Like, I got this theory that I've been working in bars for like 10 years on and off, and I just have this theory that when people walk through their door, the IQ just like plummets like 50 points, because like the things people ask me, like, you know, they walk up and they're like, do you have a menu? And I'm like, no, you're just going to guess what we've got going on, and I'll tell you if you're right, you know, things like that.
How did you get into writing and comedy?
A lot of it had to do with my father. My dad really bestowed like this love of comic books on me when I was a kid. And I always wanted to be a writer in some fashion or form. And I actually went to school to originally be a writer. I ended up getting a degree in history. But basically, about when I was 17, I realized I wanted to write comic books. I was like, well, somebody's writing these things, obviously. So I thought to myself, well, why don't I write comic books? I mean, I love these characters. I love the art form itself. I was like, I'll start making my own comic books. So I actually published my first book at 19 with a now defunct company called Shot in the Dark Comics. And that was a really nice opportunity for me. Then I went off to school for a while, and I tried to do the grad school thing. And then a couple years ago, I moved back here, and I was like, you know what? I don't want to just be a bartender. I want to do something. I want to be creative. I want to make art. And I was like, I'm going to do this full time, or as much as I can. And so I started doing the comic book thing. And it's so gratifying and self-fulfilling, you know, to create art, and then to go from what was basically a blank page and just some scribbles on a paper to a full, like, bound book here has been an incredible experience. As for the comedy, what could be more fun?
So how long have you been writing?
Pretty much my entire life. I don't really remember a time where I wasn't writing. I used to keep journals when I was a kid. I used to have all these short stories and beginnings of novels like when I was 8, and I wrote all the time. My favorite classes in school were always the English classes, especially when we got to do the creative writing stuff. Yeah, I've been writing my entire life. I really don't remember a time. I enjoy writing so much that I was the nerd kid in college where if they gave me like a 15-page paper to write this week, I was like, oh, that sucks. But like secretly inside, I'm like, oh, this is going to be fun. I just enjoy writing so much, and I like to think I'm good at it. So
if someone was interested in writing, what would you suggest to them?
the number one thing to be a good writer is you have to read. Good writers read often and always. You just consume any sort of like reading you can, be it novels, be it the newspaper, be it comic books, be it anything. You have to read. You got to understand what's going on, like, and how this works. The other thing is, excuse me, just do it. There's really nothing stopping you from writing. All you need is a pen and a paper or the equivalent thereof. And just, you got a story in mind, you got something you want to say, something you want to get out into the world. Just sit down and do it. That's simple as that.
All right, Eric, and I'm going to say thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hi, my name is Jacob. I'm with the Ghostbusters Tri State Division. We just want to give you a little rundown of our uniforms here. As you all see, I am slimed. I got slimed by Slimer. He didn't want to cooperate today, so he slimed me, slimed my gear, so it's back at headquarters getting hopefully dried out. My associate Mitchell here is fully geared up. He has his ecto goggles, he has his radio for when, if he gets away from us, and he can contact us, say, hey, they're over here. Of course, you always got to have your protective gloves on to protect from the radiation. If I can get Mitchell to turn around here, he's got his pack here with the nice Neutrona wand here with the pack, the cyclotron, and we got a little Slimer here. We like to put him on there. Basically, it's fun being a Ghostbuster. You get to play with fully unlicensed nuclear accelerators. I mean, it's a blast. I mean, that's the whole point of it. And we hope that you all liked our little demonstration of our gear, and hopefully get some more people interested in Ghostbusters. And hey, check us out. You could be one of us too.